David Perdue of Georgia congratulated the president on hitting, quote, the ground running and keeping his promises to the American people, as he put it. But he's also said that he is against a border adjustment tax, saying it would create more losers than winners. Senator Perdue joins us now from the Capitol. Welcome to Bloomberg, Senator.
Good morning, David.
Good to have you here. So, as a former CEO, someone who's run a business, as you listened to that speech last night, what did you find most encouraging?
Well, I saw a president hitting his stride last night as the leader of the free world. I see the president laying out last night his vision for getting the economy going, which he said is job one. Also saying that we're going to re-engage with the world on many fronts, the trade front as well as the political front. So I was very encouraged by his sense of leadership last night.
Were you at all concerned about the lack of specifics?
Not at all. I think at this point, 5 weeks in, what he needs to do is set the vision. We've been meeting with some of his cabinet members that have been appointed so far, and there are a lot of details being worked out behind that. But last night, we saw him lay the priorities out there with regard to getting the economy going and also how to re-engage with the rest of the world. So, I give him high marks for doing that last night.
As you say, it's only 5 weeks in. At the same time, we have an election coming up, next year in 2018. Doesn't he have a limited period of time in which to really make hay?
Absolutely, David. And what I see right now is a White House that's moving as a business pace, not at a government pace. And I think you're going to see that continue. What we need to do is get Congress to catch up. I mean, he can't even have a staff meeting yet, David. We're going on the slowest pace of confirmation since George Washington was in office. So if we can speed that up, we can get executed a few more of the programs that he has talked about.
Senator, you referred to the president as the leader of the free world. Could you just give me a little bit of detail on what you actually mean by that? Because I'm not so sure from what we've heard from the president so far that he subscribes to that.
Well, he's got to take care of job one, and job one is getting America healthy again. The rest of the world needs America to be healthy again, and we've got to get this economy going. You guys have been talking about how the markets are responding to his actions so far. What America needs to do right now is to tell our allies what they can depend on. We've been retrenched now for a period of time, and it's time that we continue to develop that conversation with them again.
Well, Senator, the post-war order and the institutions that support it have been questioned by this administration. So when you talk about the leader of the free world, that used to mean something. It doesn't feel like it means the same thing anymore.
No, you're right. After the last 8 years, it doesn't. It sounds like a hollow comment, but I think we've got to get back there. Look, as a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, I've traveled the world a lot the last 2 years. I'm a member of the Armed Services Committee now. Leaders in foreign countries want one thing, and that is America to lead again. That doesn't mean they want our armed services there with 100,000 troops in Syria. What it means is they want us to re-engage again to solve these hotspot problems around the world with them.
So, Senator, again, to apply your business acumen to what you're facing right now in Congress, in order to get things done, let's talk specifically about tax reform. There's sort of a critical path here, right? It's like a Gantt chart. You got to do something before you do something else. You got to get through Obamacare. Realistically, what can they do to get us there?
Well, first, we've got to get the cabinet confirmed. We need to speed that process up. The Senate has been running 24 hours a day for most days here in the last few weeks. And the reason is we've got to accelerate our ability to move on to some of these other issues. We've passed the 17 budget. We've got to get reconciliation done and get health care taken care of. Then you've got to move on to the second budget this year, and that's the 2018 budget. And within that reconciliation, we hope to deal with these tax issues and possibly even some features of Dodd-Frank.
And there are a lot of people, as you know, out there really eager to have tax reform. Your Republican counterparts over in the House have basically said they've got to have a border adjustment tax in order to pay for it and to get it done. You have come out against it. We talked actually just to Senator Chris Coons, your Democratic colleague, earlier in this program. Listen to what he had to say. He was very doubtful about border adjustment tax.
My gut instinct is to be against it, but I'd have to see the details. It is true that other countries impose a VAT tax or other taxes, so I think there is a way that we could create a border-adjusted tax that would actually pass muster and not create a trade war with some of our opponents.
So, Senator Perdue, as I say, you have said, you've been pretty explicit, you were against a border adjustment tax. Is that an impediment to getting tax reform through the Congress?
Well, I hope not. I hope that we'll find some reasonable approach here. But let's be clear. The purpose of the border adjustment tax is only to pay for the tax changes in the corporate tax rate and the repatriation tax reduction, and also to simplify the individual tax code. Those are three things that will actually grow the economy. So the only reason border adjustment is being talked about is to pay for those. I don't believe it's necessary. Other countries have done similar things in the past. The UK, for example, in 2009 reduced their corporate rate from 30 to 20 and eliminated accelerated the repatriation tax. They didn't have a scoring model. They didn't need it. They knew that the economy would more than pay for that over time, and I believe that as well.
Okay, but that's a lot of ifs, right? If we get to 3% growth in 2018 using that dynamic scoring, would you vote for a tax reform without border tax adjustment that raises the deficit?
Well, look, at this point in time, I don't mind increasing the deficit on the short term if I believe in the long term it's going to have a positive effect in terms of dealing with the debt. The debt is the #1 reason we're trying to deal with this. We've got to get the economy growing again to deal with the debt long term. But to do that, we've got to deal with our archaic tax structure, our overburdening regulation environment, and unleash our energy potential. Those are the things the president has laid out as priorities, and I fully subscribe to that formula for growing our economy. So if we do those things, and by the way, we also have to have a more level playing field with the rest of the world with regard to trade. The president certainly is talking about all of that, and if we do any of that individually, we won't be successful. It's a combination of all of the above.
So, Senator, if you were back as a CEO and you were sitting with your team putting together your budget right now, your internal budget for your company, when would you bake in tax reform?
This year. I'm very hopeful that we would get it done this year. I believe right now you hear some disagreements inside the Republican Party about this. That's fine, but we're going to get to a conclusion, and I hope we'll be able to do it this year. Look, I'm one of those that says, look, stop the brakes. Let's go 24 hours a day until we get this done. Job one this year is to get this economy growing again. That's why this president was elected. We know what to do. We just got to get the fine-tuning details worked out, and I believe we can do that this year.
Senator David Perdue of Georgia, thank you very much for your time today, sir. Jonathan.
Coming up.